I guess my question is, do you think it's too late for me? I mean, am I just doomed to be the person that I am? The person in that book?
Hope you guys enjoyed that little breakdown. When you take a look at Conor McGregor in preparation for this fight, you cannot really see anything that is, I would have to say, seriously worrying, right? Many people think that, just because Conor puts his hands up and guards a lot heavier, that it'll take away from his, let's just say, essential movement. All of a sudden, is Conor McGregor going to become a very plodding fighter like it was against Khabib? I would have to say those two are different things, and you cannot really assume one because of the other. When you take a look at the fight with Khabib, he got taken down instantly and he got smashed. That's just the reality of it. He got tired, and by the time he got back to his feet, the same happened against Nate Diaz twice. So I don't really think that is the reason why you would have to assume the movement would slow down. I would have to believe the movements for right now, from all the footage that we have seen from Conor McGregor, is solely based on the fact that Conor McGregor is trying to learn new boxing skills, right? You guys have to also remember this is fighting, and you can't get stale. You can't just rely on old tricks, because what works for one opponent may not work for the other. And you also have to remember these fighters are always looking to improve, always are looking to get better. This right now is nothing more than what I would have to assume lessons that he learned against Floyd Mayweather. Against Floyd did a great job of obviously guarding up high, putting his head on the chest and just walking him down. Well, obviously try that in MMA, that's not going to work, but Conor McGregor saw things in that he could implement to his own game. And against somebody like, for example, Cowboy Cerrone, who is a fighter with dangerous kicks, outside leg kicks, right head kicks, this man is a very dangerous fighter. And you cannot simply just rely on, coming in and out, popping in and out, having a pretty wide open karate stance. Can you imagine Conor McGregor fighting the way that people think he should fight against Cerrone, and the way that people think Conor should fight is like he did against Jose Aldo? I mean, the fight only lasted 30 seconds, but it really painted a very powerful picture of how smooth Conor McGregor can be. But just imagine this. Conor McGregor comes forward and is in the middle of the ring, bounces back and forth, and tries to counter Cerrone with the left hand straight. Sure, he could do that if Cowboy Cerrone lined up the same exact shot. However though, at that range, Cowboy Cerrone can be hitting the legs, right? Going to the leg kicks, bring up a high kick, right? Fake the right hand, come back with the right head kick. He can do all of these things that Jose Aldo could not. And let's be real about it. Jose Aldo has not really been a true kicker ever since his fight where he broke his foot, right? Ever since that fight, Jose Aldo has become a pretty predominant boxing only MMA fighter. Other than that, you also have to be realistic of what happened. That fight only lasted 30 seconds. And against Cerrone, I am assuming at 170 pounds against a very heavy opponent, you don't really have to worry about bouncing around and moving and keeping up and matching the lighter opponent's movements. Because not only is Cerrone going to be a lot heavier on his own feet and less mobile, but with the added weight, Conor McGregor himself can't move around like that. That's just a fact. He has packed on too much muscle and he just can't afford to fight in that style. And aside from that weight, he doesn't have to fight that style. Cerrone is not a fighter you will have to really match with that movement. You don't have to. He's a pretty stationary fighter for the most part. And for Conor McGregor to acknowledge this and adapt his game plan to a more, let's just say, high guard heavy approach for now, right? We don't know how he's going to fight. Obviously in this session, he only worked on his boxing. And that is something that you have to remember. If people are going to make assumptions that, Conor McGregor has changed for the worse, he's become a brawler style fighter. Well, he is working on his boxing, obviously. So you can't go ahead and say that. It just doesn't make any sense. For example, when we saw Conor McGregor going into the fight with Khabib, obviously before the fight in the open workouts, we saw Conor McGregor look bouncy, doing all the flashy kicks that people enjoy. This is merely a portrayal of what people can collect from these very scarce footages. Obviously, it's Conor McGregor. He's the biggest deal in town. He's not gonna post him fighting every single day or every single two, like he's not gonna do that. So for the most part, finding footage of him and actually getting the chance to analyze it is going to be very important, obviously. And when they do that, so far, they've taken a couple notes that come down to the fact that he's fighting with a higher guard. Well, maybe that is going to be a better thing. Now, aside from that, I want to come back to the topic of having little scarce content footage and they're trying to make up this entire image, right? I want to talk about Conor McGregor's coach saying that Conor McGregor knows more about fighting. If you guys actually listened to the entire clip and the entire context of it, Coach Kavanagh was not really talking about him having like superior knowledge of skill, technique, things of that nature. What Coach Kavanagh meant to say was, or what he intended to say was, Conor McGregor knows more about fighting than us fighting in the octagon, obviously, right? Coach Kavanagh, he's not a two-time world champion. Coach Owen Roddy, he's not a two-time world champion. He hasn't had two UFC fights. When it comes to actual fighting in the octagon, that is where Coach Kavanagh meant to say that Conor McGregor knows more in.
Not so much about, us coaches sitting down a game plan and then filling Conor in. Conor knows more about fighting than the rest of us put together.
So this statement really just was meant to point at the fact that he doesn't really need any briefing in. He doesn't really need to ask the coaches how Cerrone is going to fight, how should I fight him, because at this point Conor is not a rookie, right? He doesn't have to look to his corner to get some advice every 2 seconds. At this point, the entire team has worked together for so many years. They know what is up, right? At this point, it's kind of like Muhammad Ali and Angelo Dundee. Do you think Muhammad Ali and Angelo Dundee were at a stage after becoming the world champion for the second time where they still had to, for example, learn new things? Essentially, at that point, it doesn't really come down to learning, right? It's just you already possess all the tools. Now you have to use them in this way or that way. Against Cowboy Cerrone, I think it is pretty self-explanatory how those skills should be used. So that's what I believe Coach Kavanagh meant to say, obviously. Now, aside from that, coming back to Conor McGregor, right now he's looking very strong physically. He has put on the weight perfectly. I think this is the best that Conor McGregor has looked at 170 period. And I believe going into fight night, I don't believe that, for example, his opponent Cerrone will be taking as much damage as Nate Diaz. And if he does, well, that'll be something pleasantly surprising. So all in all, I believe with this quote-unquote brawler style that he has right now, I would have to say the new skills that he learned over these last 2 years will really come and show themselves against Cerrone. Against Khabib, he couldn't really do that because Khabib just took him down, right? And he kept him down and he gassed him out. Against Cerrone, we will see probably the high guard be in effect. He will probably come forward with his karate style, and as soon as he gets rid of Cerrone's kicking game and kicking range, he will, put his guard up, avoid getting elbowed, avoid getting kneed, and then start working the body, start digging to the body, because if he can do that, he will start to slow him down. Cerrone is obviously a fighter who can go 5 rounds with ease, no problem. Conor McGregor, he's not as good at in the 5th round as he was in the 1st round. That's a fact. So for him to go in there and try to match a 5-round fight with Cerrone is not really going to be the way to go. So start going to the body, right? Start investing to the body very early on, because you never know how the fight is going to play out. So you just gotta make sure the worst does not happen to you. And with this new style, I would have to say that a few extra body shots or lead left hands, whatever it may be, will certainly be welcomed. It's not really going to hurt him at all. So that's what I believe is going to be happening come fight night. I hope Conor McGregor and Cerrone come out of this fight healthy, and I hope that it will be a great night of fights. I look forward to Conor McGregor's return, and I look forward to how these two styles will clash. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Leave in the comment section down below what you thought of this video. As always, I have been Kenan from KENAN KTV, signing off. Later.